The alien medical station floated quietly in orbit around a dead star. It was a place where wounded soldiers from many worlds were brought for healing. Machines hummed in long white halls, and doctors of many species worked side by side. Among them was Nira, a young alien nurse from the Solari species. The Solari were known for their calm hands and deep knowledge of medicine. Nira had treated warriors twice her size, patched holes in creatures with 3 hearts, and calmed the screams of soldiers who had lost limbs in battle. She thought she had seen everything, but she had never treated a human. Humans were still new to the wider galaxy. Most species had only heard stories about them. Some called them reckless. Others said they were clever builders who made strange machines. Many whispered that humans came from a death world, a planet where even the air and animals tried to kill them. To Nira, these were just rumors. That changed the day the transport ship Mercy's Wing docked at the station, the arrival. The alarm lights flashed and the call for emergency staff echoed through the station. Nira rushed to the landing bay with her medkit. She expected to see injured Kran soldiers or maybe a wounded Raelith with their thick carapaces cracked. Instead, she froze. A group of armored figures carried a single body on a stretcher. The armor was heavy, blackened by fire, and parts of it were melted. The figure on it was tall, broader than any Solari or Raelith. His skin was pale under the burns, and blood leaked from deep wounds. "Who is that?" Nira whispered. One of the armored figures turned. His helmet slid back, revealing sharp human features and tired eyes. "He's one of ours. His name is Captain Elias Ward. He saved the transport crew from a reactor breach. He's not doing well." Nira blinked. A human. This was her first time seeing one up close. His body looked fragile compared to the armored giants of other races, yet his chest still rose and fell. Somehow he was still alive. "Bring him to Surgical Bay 4, Nira ordered, pushing away her surprise. First examination, the doors closed behind them. Machines scanned the human's body while Nira prepared surgical tools. She saw burns across his chest, broken ribs, and shrapnel lodged near his lung. By all rights, he should already be dead. Her assistant, a thin insectoid named Relk, clicked his mandibles. "Impossible. He cannot survive this. His heart is working beyond safe limits," Nira agreed. Yet the monitors told a different story. The human's heart thundered on, refusing to stop. Nira leaned closer, placing her hand gently on his chest. "How are you still alive?" she whispered. The human's eyes flickered open for a moment. They were clouded with pain, but he managed a weak smile. His lips moved. "Not done. Yet." Then he passed out again. Nira stepped back, shaken. She had treated strong patients before, but this was different. This man's willpower was keeping him alive. The shock hours passed as they worked. Alien tools stitched flesh, sealed blood vessels, and replaced damaged tissue. Every time Nira thought the human's body would give up, it resisted. His immune system responded faster than she expected. His blood clotted almost instantly, and his heart adapted to stress levels that would have killed most species. Finally, as they prepared to stabilize him, the monitors screamed again. His heart rate spiked. His breathing slowed. "He is crashing!" Relk cried. Nira reached for the defibrillator, but before she could use it, the human's body convulsed and then forced itself back into rhythm on its own. The machines confirmed it. He had restarted his own heart. Nira gasped. She looked at the other staff in disbelief. "Did you see that?" His body forced itself back online. None of them answered. They were too stunned. To them, it looked monstrous, like his biology itself was a weapon. Aftermath, when the surgery was done, Nira stayed beside his bed. She kept looking at his hands. They were rough, scarred from old injuries, the hands of someone who had worked with machines and weapons. She had seen giant claws, armored talons, and alien limbs strong enough to crush stone. Yet these human hands felt more dangerous, not because of size, but because of what they represented. A will that refused to surrender. Relk muttered, "They say humans are fragile. If this is fragile, I do not want to see strong." Nira said nothing. She was still thinking about how he had forced his body back. It wasn't just survival. It was something else. Something fierce and stubborn. The whispered rumors news spread quickly through the station. Staff whispered in the halls. The alien nurse who had never seen a human now told others what she had witnessed. A body refusing death. A heart that restarted itself. A will that even fire and shrapnel could not crush. Some called it unnatural. Others called it monstrous. But all agreed on one thing. Humans were not like other species. As Nira checked his vitals one last time before resting, she looked at the human's face. Peaceful now, but she knew when he woke that same fire would burn in his eyes. And for the first time she wondered, was the galaxy ready for humans? The next morning, the medical bay was quiet except for the soft hum of machines. Nira walked slowly toward the human's bed. Captain Elias Ward still lay there unconscious but stable. His chest rose and fell with steady, even breaths, and his skin no longer bore the pale tinge of shock. Nira couldn't stop staring. His survival yesterday had shaken the entire staff. Every alien who had seen it whispered the same word: monstrous. Not in fear exactly, but in awe. Relk, the insectoid assistant, hovered near the monitors. "I've never seen anything like it," he said quietly. "His body, his system, keeps correcting itself even when it shouldn't. It is beyond normal limits," Nira nodded. She had noticed it too. "It's like his body refuses to die. He fights on his own." Unexpected visitors as Nira prepared breakfast for herself in the small staff lounge. A sharp voice called her name. She turned to see Commander Talvir, the station's senior officer. He was tall, with deep blue skin and multiple eyes, each flicking rapidly as if calculating everything at once. "You've seen the human?" he said without preamble. "Tell me exactly what happened." Nira felt a shiver. Talvir wasn't just curious, he was concerned. And in the galaxy, concern often meant danger. I did, Nira said carefully. His body survived burns, broken ribs, shrapnel in the chest. And his heart restarted itself. On its own. I have never seen anything like it. Talvir's eyes narrowed. Do you understand what that means? Humans are different. Not just physically, they are unpredictable. They survive when nothing should allow them to survive. Nira felt a chill. She had treated many dangerous species before, but humans. She had never imagined a being could be so resilient. Human reflexes, by mid-morning, Elias stirred. His eyelids fluttered, revealing sharp, alert eyes. He scanned the room quickly, his gaze landing on Nira. "Morning," he rasped, voice hoarse but confident. "I assume I'm alive because of you?" Nira quickly checked his monitors. "Alive, yes, but barely. You should not have moved. Your body..." She hesitated, reacted in ways I cannot explain. Elias smiled faintly. "I've been in worse. I'm not used to lying down unless someone's forcing me." Nira blinked. "Worse, your body? It barely survived yesterday. How can you talk like that?" Elias sat up slowly. His movements were careful but natural, his muscles adjusting with ease. "Humans adapt. We push through. You think your species can handle it, but humans, we just keep going." The words made Nira shiver. She had treated countless wounded warriors, but none had spoken like this while their body was still on the edge of death. A test of strength later that day, Commander Talvir arranged for a demonstration. The human had to show the limits of his strength, not in combat, but in handling a critical repair to the station's life support system. The system had been damaged during yesterday's emergency. A plasma conduit had cracked, and the repairs required both precision and force to secure it. Most alien species needed specialized tools or large teams to complete the task safely. Elias approached the conduit. Machines measured the energy needed. The reading spiked immediately as he lifted the heavy plasma tubes and secured them with raw human strength. He moved with astonishing speed and precision. Every alien watching gasped. Nira's jaw dropped. That's impossible," she muttered. Relk clicked his mandibles. Impossible, yes. But he did it, alone. The human finished the repair in half the expected time. Machines beeped, confirming the system's stability. The entire room erupted in whispered amazement. Alien reactions. Every species reacted differently. Some were awestruck. Others were suspicious. Commander Talvir remained silent, studying Elias carefully. Nira noticed the subtle changes in the aliens' behavior. Even the normally calm engineers were exchanging worried glances. Humans, it seemed, were not just survivors. They were catalysts. Their presence forced others to rethink their understanding of biology, strength, and endurance. One young Solari engineer whispered, "He moved those conduits like they weighed nothing. Our strongest could barely lift them." Nira nodded. She had seen it firsthand. It wasn't only the physical strength, it was the combination of strength, speed, and control that made Elias different, monstrous almost. Bonds formed in crisis, After the demonstration, Nira returned to his bedside. Elias sat quietly examining a datapad with calm focus. "You handled the system well," Nira said softly. "But don't overdo it. Your body, it's still recovering." Elias smiled faintly. "I'm fine. Humans are stubborn. We don't quit easily." Nira laughed nervously. "I've never met anyone like you. Not just humans in Story R." The day after Captain Elias Ward's recovery, the station buzzed with unusual energy. Nira noticed it immediately. Every alien on duty moved with a quiet tension, as if waiting for something significant to happen. Whispers of the human's resilience spread like wildfire, and his deeds were now the topic of every conversation. Elias, however, seemed unconcerned. He moved through the corridors with calm precision, checking systems, observing the flow of energy, and interacting politely with staff. Yet there was a spark in his eyes, a quiet alertness that suggested he was always ready. Unexpected orders at noon, Commander Talvir summoned Elias and Nira to the command center. Holograms of nearby sectors filled the room, flickering with data streams. Aliens from multiple species stood at attention, waiting for instructions. "We have received a distress signal," Talvir announced. "It comes from the mining colony on Orpheus 7. A reactor core is unstable. If it explodes, the colony and the surrounding space will be destroyed." Rel clicked nervously. "The humans who live there, do we know their survival chances?" Talvir shook his head. "Unknown. The colony is remote, and previous attempts to reach them failed. Only a highly adaptable operative can succeed." All eyes turned to Elias. The human stepped forward, calm and measured. "I'll go," he said simply. Nira's eyes widened. "Go? Are you trained for this?" Elias smiled faintly. "I don't just survive, nurse, I adapt. I can fix things, make calculations, and survive under conditions others can't." Talvir studied him silently. After a long moment, he nodded. "Very well. You leave immediately. Nira, you will accompany him as medical support." The transport ship was ready within the hour. Nira found herself sitting next to Elias, scanning the star maps projected on the table. "You really think I can do this?" she asked quietly. Elias glanced at her. "It's not about thinking. It's about doing. We don't have the luxury to doubt ourselves." As the ship exited the station, the stars stretched into bright lines. The hum of the engines was steady, almost reassuring. But Nira couldn't shake the tension. Unlike the controlled environment of the station, this mission carried unknown dangers, unstable reactors, collapsing tunnels, and potential alien predators on Orpheus 7 itself. Yet Elias seemed calm, almost at home among the risks. First obstacle. The mining colony came into view, a sprawling network of tunnels carved into a rocky moon, surrounded by clouds of dust and debris. The reactor core emitted faint, irregular pulses of energy, signaling instability. "Dock carefully," Nira said nervously. "Even a small mistake could trigger an explosion." Elias's hands moved with precision as he guided the ship. Unlike most pilots, he didn't need autopilot or complex stabilizers. His instincts, honed by years of surviving extreme conditions on Earth, allowed him to feel subtle shifts in gravity and pressure. The ship landed smoothly. Nira exhaled a long breath. "I've never seen piloting like that. Your control is remarkable," Elias shrugged. "Humans survive by adapting fast. That includes thinking with our hands and eyes at the same time." Into the reactor, the two entered the colony in protective suits. Heat and radiation made the air shimmer. Alien engineers and miners ran in panic trying to stabilize the reactor, but the systems were failing faster than they could act. Elias knelt by a cracked control panel. With his bare hands, he began assessing the damage. Sparks flew from the exposed circuits, yet he didn't flinch. Nira watched, heart pounding. He moved with calm speed, reconnecting wires, manually adjusting coolant valves, and using tools to reinforce unstable sections. One alien technician whispered to Nira, "No one can do that alone." "It's impossible," Nira shook her head in awe. "I've seen impossible things before, but he makes them look simple." A test of ingenuity. The reactor core began to emit louder warnings. Heat levels rose rapidly, and the colony's alarm lights flashed red. Elias stood, wiping sweat from his brow, and quickly examined the surroundings. His eyes scanned every angle, every pipe, every damaged component. Then he gestured to Nira. "Hand me the emergency plasma clamps," he said. Nira obeyed, but even she felt the tension in the moment. The core pulsed dangerously. One wrong move could mean death. Yet Elias approached the core fearlessly, using his strength to stabilize the main conduit, then combining logic with brute force to seal cracks that no alien team could have handled alone. The room held its breath as sparks flew. Coolant hissed and pressure valves groaned. Then with a final turn of a wrench, the core stabilized. The alarm stopped. Silence fell over the colony. The reaction aliens everywhere stared in shock. Some backed away, unsure if what they had seen was natural. Others simply whispered to each other, their voices full of disbelief. Nira finally spoke. "He saved the colony. Alone." Elias, exhausted but calm, looked at her. "I didn't do it alone. You were here. In the colony, humans don't just survive. We solve problems when others can't." Talvir's voice came through the communicator. "Captain Ward, your actions have exceeded all expectations. This station owes you a debt, and the galaxy will take notice." Elias nodded silently, his expression calm, almost as if he expected nothing less. A growing reputation as they returned to the station, Nira couldn't help but reflect on what she had witnessed. Humans were more than survivors. They were innovators, problem solvers, and warriors of a unique kind. One human could accomplish what an entire alien team could not, simply because their body and mind were designed to adapt, endure, and overcome. In the medical bay, Nira tended to minor injuries sustained during the mission. Elias, tired but alert, joked lightly with staff, putting them at ease. Yet every movement, every action reminded her of his extraordinary resilience. Relk hovered nearby, still clicking his mandibles nervously. "Do you realize what this means? One human can outperform entire squads of specialists. Imagine an entire fleet," Nira shivered. "I think the galaxy hasn't even begun to understand humans. Not yet." The quiet moment. That night, as the station settled into routine, Nira found herself walking along the observation deck. Elias joined her quietly, looking out at the stars. "You're thinking too much," he said softly. "Humans don't survive by overthinking. We act, adapt, and learn. That's how we've lasted this long on Earth," Nira smiled. "I understand now. You're remarkable, not just physically but in everything. You make the impossible look simple." Elias glanced at her, a faint spark of pride in his eyes. "We do what we must, and we keep moving forward. That's what makes humans human." Nira nodded, realizing a truth she had only begun to grasp. Humans were not just another species in the galaxy. They were a force. And with humans among them, the galaxy would never be the same. The station had barely returned to its normal rhythm after the Orpheus 7 mission when the alarms blared again. This time the warning came from the outer sectors, far beyond the usual patrol routes. Red lights flashed, echoing in the long white corridors, and every officer on duty sprang into action. Nira had just finished tending to minor injuries from yesterday's mission when she heard the call. "All available personnel report to command. Unknown vessel approaching at high speed." Her heart raced. She knew what this meant. The galaxy was far larger than any station could fully secure. Danger could come from any corner, and no warning would be enough. Elias stood near the medbay doorway, his calm demeanor unchanged. "Looks like the galaxy wants to test me again," he said quietly. Nira felt a chill. His confidence was unshakable. The intruder in the command center, the team watched a holographic projection of the approaching vessel. It was massive, its hull dark and jagged, reflecting light from nearby stars. Unlike any ship they had seen, it moved with unnatural speed, bypassing normal communication attempts. Talvir's multiple eyes narrowed. "It is not responding. It may be hostile. Prepare defensive measures, Elias. You will lead the boarding team if it docks." Elias nodded. "Understood." Relk clicked nervously. "The size and speed. This is unlike anything we've seen. Can a human survive a confrontation with this?" Nira smiled faintly, remembering the Orpheus mission. "If anyone can, it's him. Humans adapt. They endure. They overcome." Preparing for boarding. The boarding ship was small, but fast and maneuverable. Elias led Nira and a small team of alien soldiers toward the unknown vessel. Every moment the ship's systems were analyzed and the threat level grew. "This ship, it's ancient," Nira said, scanning the data. But its engines are modern. Whoever controls it, they are powerful. Elias studied the readings, then turned to Nira. We don't wait for power. We act, we move, adapt, and win. That's how humans survive. His confidence reassured the team. Even aliens who had seen impossible things now trusted him. Boarding the enemy, the docking clamps latched with a sharp hiss. The boarding team moved in, weapons ready. The interior of the vessel was dark and unfamiliar, lined with metal surfaces and alien symbols that none of them could read. Nira felt her pulse quicken. This was no ordinary mission. She glanced at Elias. He moved calmly, scanning each corridor, noting the weakest points in the ship's structure. Every step he took, every decision he made showed a mind trained to survive and adapt. Then they reached the control room. Alien operators scrambled to defend it, but Elias acted swiftly. Using both strength and intellect, he disabled the energy shields, allowing the team to secure the room. The aliens were stunned. Not by weapons alone, but by the speed and efficiency of his decisions. Human. The station had returned to a fragile calm after the encounter with the unknown vessel. For a brief moment, the crew thought they could rest, but the galaxy was never quiet for long. Early one morning, alarms rang again. This time, the source was far more threatening. A massive fleet of hostile ships had appeared near the outer rim, moving toward inhabited systems at alarming speed. The fleet was unlike anything the station's sensors had ever recorded. Its sheer size and firepower were enough to overwhelm most defenses. Commander Talvir called an emergency meeting. Aliens from every allied species filled the command center, their faces tense with worry. The discussion was urgent. Strategies were debated, weapons assessed, and simulations ran, but every plan seemed inadequate. Talvir's eyes settled on Elias Ward. We need you, he said simply. The human's adaptability may be the only edge we have. Elias nodded. Understood. But we need to act quickly. There's no time to wait. Nira, standing beside him, felt her pulse quicken. The stakes were higher than ever. If the fleet reached the inhabited systems, millions could die. Preparing for battle. The Allied fleet mobilized, with Elias leading a small strike team aboard a fast assault vessel. The ship was compact, but its systems were upgraded with human ingenuity in mind. Reinforced hulls, energy shields, and adaptive engines that could respond to extreme threats. Nira checked the human captain as he ran through final preparations. You're calm, she said, even with an entire fleet bearing down on us. Elias glanced at her. Calm is necessary. Panic does nothing. We act, we adapt, we survive, and we turn the situation to our advantage. The fleet moved into formation. The enemy ships, massive and aggressive, closed in with devastating speed. Sensors picked up shields, weapon arrays, and battle formations unlike any previously encountered. Yet Elias observed quietly, analyzing patterns, calculating trajectories, and anticipating enemy behavior. To him, it was like a game he had trained for all his life, one where observation, speed, and adaptability determined survival. Human ingenuity at work, the first strike came suddenly. Enemy ships fired energy beams that sliced through space, tearing apart smaller Allied vessels. Aliens panicked, unsure how to respond to the unexpected tactics. Elias acted. Divert power to shields and engines! Focus fire on the lead ship. With his guidance, the assault vessel weaved through the barrage, avoiding destruction with precise maneuvers. Nira watched in awe as Elias manually adjusted the engines, balancing speed and agility in ways alien pilots had never imagined. Then came the moment of truth. Elias identified a weak point in the enemy formation, a structural gap in their lead ship's defenses. With confidence, he directed the Allied firepower to exploit it. Energy beams hit the exact spot, breaching the enemy vessel's shield and disabling their main weapon systems. The other ships faltered, unsure how to respond. Aliens whispered among themselves. One human. Did this alone? Courage under fire. Despite the success, the battle was far from over. Enemy ships regrouped and launched a counterattack. Explosions rocked the fleet and alarms screamed across every bridge. Elias remained steady, issuing orders with calm precision. We adapt. Change formation. Lead them into the debris field. They won't expect it. The strike team followed his guidance, using the natural hazards of the asteroid field. The human-led fleet created obstacles that disrupted the enemy's coordination. Ships collided, energy weapons misfired, and panic spread among the attackers. Nira marveled at the human mind at work. Not only was Elias physically strong, he had the ability to see opportunities others missed. Every move was calculated, every risk assessed, but he acted with speed that left the aliens astonished. Turning the tide. The battle raged for hours, but gradually the tide began to turn. Enemy ships suffered heavy losses, unable to match the combination of human ingenuity and adaptive tactics. Allied ships, once overwhelmed, now moved with confidence following Elias's example. Finally, the enemy fleet began retreating, their numbers reduced, their morale shattered. The Allied forces had survived, and more than survived, they had won. Talvir addressed the command center once communications returned. Captain Elias Ward and his team have done what we believed impossible. They have saved countless lives today. The galaxy owes them gratitude. Elias remained quiet, leaning on the ship's railing, observing the aftermath. We did what was necessary. Humans adapt, we endure, and we protect those who cannot protect themselves. Recognition and respect back at the station. Celebrations were subdued but heartfelt. Aliens approached Elias, offering thanks, respect, and admiration. Many admitted they had underestimated humans. Some confessed they had never believed a single human could influence events on such a scale. Nira stayed by Elias's side, tending to minor injuries and offering quiet support. She noticed the respect in the eyes of every alien she encountered. No one doubted the human's capabilities now. Even Relk, normally critical, said, "The human is not just strong. He inspires, he leads. The galaxy has underestimated humans for too long." Nira nodded, knowing it was true. Humans were more than survivors, they were leaders, innovators, and a force that could change the outcome of even the most impossible situations. Reflection. That night, as the station's lights dimmed, Nira walked alone along the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly before her, a reminder of both the galaxy's beauty and its dangers. She thought about Elias, about what humans represented. They survived the impossible. They adapted where others failed. They turned threats into opportunities, and she realized the truth. Humans were no longer just a species among many. They were a standard by which others would measure strength, courage, and ingenuity. Elias joined her quietly. "The galaxy will always challenge us," he said softly. "But humans, we endure, and we overcome." Nira smiled, finally understanding the weight of his words. And wherever humans go next, the galaxy will have to pay attention. Elias looked out at the stars. Yes, and that is only the beginning. The stars seemed to shine a little brighter that night. Across the station, in hushed voices, aliens whispered the same thought. Humans were different. Humans were extraordinary, and the galaxy had only begun to see what they were capable of. The station hummed with activity as the aftermath of the galactic crisis settled in. Though the threat had been neutralized, the presence of humans had left an indelible mark. Aliens whispered in awe, their conversations full of disbelief and admiration. Nira walked through the corridors, reflecting on how far Captain Elias Ward and his human ingenuity had brought them. Elias sat quietly in the command center, studying the star maps. Even after the fleet's defeat, his mind was alert, analyzing every sector for potential danger. Nira approached him, carrying a cup of synthetic tea. "You've changed everything," she said softly. Elias looked up, a faint smile on his face. "We adapt. We survive. And when it matters, we lead." "That's what humans do," Nira shook her head. "It's more than that. You inspire everyone. The aliens, they're starting to see humans differently." Elias nodded. "Good, they need to understand. Survival is one thing, but respect is earned." New Alliance's word of the humans' heroics spread beyond the station. Messages arrived from distant colonies thanking him for saving lives. Some were cautious, unsure if humans could be trusted. Others were eager to ally themselves, hoping to learn from the humans' methods and abilities. Commander Talvir stood beside Elias, eyes serious. "Captain, your actions have sparked interest throughout the galaxy. Entire fleets are requesting humans for missions. Their respect and fear is growing." Elias remained calm. "Humans don't seek recognition. We act because it is necessary. But it is true, the galaxy underestimates humans at its own risk. Talvir nodded slowly. Then humanity will be a force to reckon with. The galaxy must adapt to humans, just as humans adapt to it. Training the future, Nira watched as Elias began training a team of alien engineers and soldiers. He taught them how to think like humans, not just how to follow orders, but how to improvise, adapt, and act decisively in chaotic situations. Aliens were initially skeptical. They had relied on rigid protocols and massive machinery to survive dangerous missions. But under Elias's guidance, they began to see the advantages of human ingenuity. Humans don't wait for conditions to be perfect, Elias explained. We act, we think fast, and we adapt fast. You don't have to be the strongest, just the most clever and willing to try. Nira smiled quietly. It was remarkable to see aliens learning from a single human, recognizing that strength wasn't just physical. Humans had endurance, intelligence, creativity, and courage that could outmatch even the largest fleets or most advanced weapons. A new threat looms. Months passed, and humans began to gain a reputation across multiple systems. But the galaxy was never truly calm. A new disturbance appeared on the sensors, a vast region of space where communication signals were blocked and unknown ships moved in patterns that suggested planning and strategy. Talvir called an emergency council. This is unlike anything we've faced. We may need humans to lead once more. Elias, now known and respected across species, stood ready. Then we'll adapt and we'll overcome. Humans survive. Humans protect. That's what we do. Nira, beside him, felt a surge of pride. She had witnessed human strength, resilience, and intelligence in action. Now she understood that humans weren't just survivors, they